Welcome to Volume 3 of Jenica Spires against Order. Time to take Big Man's palette and use the Order Slosher for this next climb. I gotta say, during the stream this volume took place in, I commented that I lost count of how many times I've climbed the Spire of Order. So to rectify that, I checked back on all the previous chapters of the previous volumes to see how many climbs I did. Not counting the intro where there were initially 10 floors, I've attempted 5 climbs before getting here. So that now makes this the 6th climb so far. And I've not even used half of the weapons in this collection. So to start off this run, let's go with Orbit Rail Floor for Droning Strike. Given my first experience, Orbit Rail Floor looked intimidating, but it's actually one of the easier floors. Now that I'm not using the Order Splatana, I'm now feeling like I'm getting hits much faster now with the Slosher. All I really had to do is hit the balloon fish to attack the Mombos, and we're set for this floor. I did have to go around in circles to get the last one, which, thanks to the balloon fish, the Mombos do get stuck in your ink, making it harder for them to get away from you. Careful Aim Floor for Drone Sprinkler. Remember this floor? I for sure do. Again, 19 seconds and I defeated the Mombos with one spin top. However, this time I wasn't so lucky to pull it off a second time. I ended up spending 46 seconds on this floor, but I didn't mind. While we're on the topic of drone color chips, I'd like to recap which color chips I unlocked for Pearl. Those being Drone Gauge Splat Charge, Drone Ink Mine, and Drone Burst Bomb. If you manage to get any of the drone color chips in not just quantity, but in a few different abilities, you could pretty much turn Pearl into a one drone army against the Gelatins. I got Drone Sprinkler because I felt like it could really help with covering turf around me as I was fighting them. Danger Magnet Bowl Floor for main piercing. When I got into the floor, I considered the idea that piercing wasn't gonna be useful for the Slosher. However, entering the floor, I realized its tasking me with destroying portals, so maybe it is helpful? I could hit one gelatin in front of me and also have the Slosh hit the portal as well, I guess. Maybe I could hit through the armor of the Accelerandos. Who knows? But as I was playing on the floor, I started realizing how useful main piercing could be with the Slosher. I was able to hit more than one gelatin, giving me more space to attack. The spin tops also helped with destroying the first 2 portals. Suddenly I ended up getting attacked by a Lento while dodging an Accelerando, knocking me out of my armor, which made me panic and use my special, which also made me realize Triple Ink Strike was the special for Big Man's palette kit. Thankfully I was able to take out the last portal even without spin tops. Rising Ground Floor for main damage distant. 2 8-balls right next to each other. Their goals? Not so much. Easily aiming upward with the Slosher, I could launch the first 8-ball across the elevating platform, sending it to the first goal. Unfortunately, I couldn't say the same for the second one, but whatever. Nothing troubled me on this floor either way. I wasn't satisfied with the lack of challenge that floor had. Guess I'll have to choose more challenging floors on this climb. Mobile Special Charge and Hindrance Damage. Could be a worse combination of chips of this vending machine corner. Stepping Stones Floor for Splat Drone Charge. This turbine objective is just a straight line. When you're escorting the turbine, the ink that spews from it lands on the sponges below and creates platforms for you to make escorting it much easier and prevents the battering Lentos from getting to you. At the checkpoint lines, the spewing ink reaches a farther radius, so raining ink means death to the gelatins below. Yeah, the floor is pretty straightforward. No, this level can't be easy. This level can't be that easy. Of course, I say that, then a Lento shrinks the sponge I was standing on, which prompted me to use my special on it. Other than that, yeah, this floor is really that easy. Wide Open Floor for Ink Saver Main. This floor's bonus is... Excuse me? I had to say in swim form the whole time? Actually, not really. The challenge is I can move around in swim form, but when I'm in Octoling form, I have to not move around or jump. I can still shoot, that's all good. But if I move in any way, shape, or form, that'll cost me bonus membucks. On this playthrough, I thought I had to let Pearl do all the work. Well, given how clumsy I was with this challenge, I did lose quite a few membucks. Dark in the stream chat told me I could still splat things, but I just need to get back into octopus form immediately afterward. This was a strange challenge for me because I got very concerned with the movement, being unsure how I was losing points. By the end of the objective, I ended up getting 98 bonus membucks, which I started off with 132. I know these aren't required, but during this playthrough, I wanted to do them because they really do add to the gameplay with extra rewards as I climb the spire. Exposed Rising Ground Floor for Splat Ink Recovery. So, question. Why exactly does this floor variant have a different name if the main variant of this floor is just called Rising Ground Floor? It's pretty much the same as that one, but for protecting the zone. Well, whatever the reason is, this was just a minor gripe I have with this floor layout. It's pretty much the gelatins on one side of the floor and Perlamy on the other protecting the zone. The rising floor is between both sides and the gelatins are programmed to take the shortest possible route towards you. So whenever the platform in the middle is lifted, that means the shortest route is straight from their portal across the platform. If not, they'll have to take the sides around the lower area. Of course, letting them go through your ink hurts them, but I've also used suction bombs, and it takes a bunch of them out in an area. Even the Capriciosos weren't an issue with the platform lowered. 70 ticks and this floor is done. I wasn't going to get homing shots from here. After what happened the previous time I climbed with the Order Splatana, homing shots just wasn't it for me. All I bought was one ink recovery rate chip. That's it. Intensifying Harmony Floor. Yeah, you get the idea. Out of the 3 mid-bosses in this mode, I felt like this was the one I got the most out of my climbs. How fitting for the first opponent to have a Slosher just like I do. Just like the previous volume, 1 opponent on phase 1, 2 opponents on phase 2, and 4 opponents on phase 3. For some reason, when I attacked the last opponent on phase 2, nothing happened, but it apparently died to nothing as I swam away from it. I literally don't know how that happened. Even after rewatching the footage, I managed to finish off the 3rd phase with an ink strike. There's the first key of this palette. I swear, these vending machine corners were growing more common in these climbs. The only chip I could buy here was knockback. Rolling double hill floor for ink damage. Okay, the way these 8 balls were placed were definitely expecting me not to try. 1 ball was placed towards the front of the floor with a ramp perfectly positioned for me to launch the ball across the chasm to the goal in the back. The same thing can be said about the ball on the left towards the goal on the right. I just had to make sure it rolled up the up ramp and not the down ramp, and that's it. No lentos to worry about. Switchback floor for turf lucky chain. Thank Marina, I don't have to deal with 2 dangers from floors 1 through 20 in this mode. Only the lights were out for this danger. There was no ink coating or nothing, just darkness. So switchback floor was like a zigzag hill shaped floor. The 2 8 balls were on the top of the floor and the goals were in the middle and the bottom of the floor. It was fairly easy to get the balls to their goals really. Then again, it was an easy floor, so there's that. Ping-ponging double hill floor for poison ink. I know we've already been on this floor before, but I consider this floor a pretty fun floor. I suppose the reason for the different naming of this floor is depending on the objective. There were 2 splat zones on either side of the floor where the raised ramps were. I guess ping-ponging does make sense for the floor name, and it makes sense for the dash pads to be on the top ramps too. Really, you can make it through this by not constantly using the dash pads. Just use them when you need to hurry over to the zone where a Capricioso is sprinkling its ink at and take it back. The cool part is that if the gelatins take over one zone, that doesn't negate progress. It's only when they take both zones where they actually negate progress. That's pretty much it for this floor really. Danger Magnet Crisscross Floor for swim speed up. So we got another turbine to escort. Something I didn't realize until seeing it happen in front of me is that the portals that can't be destroyed can open and close themselves at random. It's a weird concept, but I think that's pretty interesting. I didn't even consider the idea of them doing that until I saw it. Cool feature though. Springing Uneven Floor for Drone Ink Strike. So it seems I've never actually seen this floor with the Alamambo's objective. The first one was easy to beat since I dropped right next to it. The second one I got zoomed right up to me, making it an easy target. However, it took a bit to get the third one. It was pretty fast on uncovered turf, really. But at least when it got stuck in my ink, 1 ink strike was enough to kill it. Which I'm surprised it even hit the Mambo anyway. Springing Jamboree Floor for knockback. A single zone to protect in the middle back of the floor and 3 portals in front of you. You're pretty much on the top of the floor where you have the 3 portals spawn in Spiccatos that jump up and over the levels and sometimes Capriciosos that just fly over the floor platform. By the time you reach the halfway point, that's where towering noblemente starts spawning. This I almost ran into an issue because I activated my triple ink strike as soon as I landed in enemy ink after bouncing off of a springboard. It only felt like a problem for me because I didn't toss all 3 of my ink strikes until I noticed I still had 1 left. Well, at least this wasn't my doom. On-rushing shelterless fortress floor for splash damage. In the elevator, I was hoping to get main damage close on the later floor, hopefully sooner rather than later, but I guess with splash damage, I don't think that's gonna help in this danger. At least I wasn't in the dark with this danger. There wasn't really too much going on this floor. The 3 portals are in places that are easy to memorize, so nothing really was too difficult on this floor. The only thing that raised the stakes was nearly getting surrounded by gelatins over a bounce pad. Springing swarmed double hill floor for mobile special charge. Yeah, we've walked this floor before. I've been noticing a lot of these floors that we've already stopped at. I probably don't need to explain much about them. The only thing that's different with each stop on the same floor multiple times is just the weapon and circumstance. With this circumstance, I nearly got killed by a Spiccato in the beginning before nearly destroying one of the 3 portals here. I left it at its highest point before it completely burst just to recover my armor and use my triple ink strike on the approaching gelatins. I finished the job with that portal with 1 slosh from the Slosher just afterward. While I was working on getting the other 2 portals, this was where I started realizing how useful piercing shots was with the Slosher. I was taking out 2 Lentos at the same time, I was hitting a portal at the same time as a Spiccato, I could even hit 2 layers of the towering noblemente at the same time. All in all, I finished this floor's mission with a triple ink strike at the 3rd portal. Elusive Bounder Floor. I'm more surprised to get this wacky boss more often than the layered rotator boss. I know that one is much easier than this, but this boss, the Elusive Bounder, is hella fun to fight. You're just beating up the weak points of the boss while knocking it around like a pinball around the whole boss arena. And there are bumpers all around the arena floor as well, which makes this more perfect. This is a literal pinball boss. Exactly what I said there. Once you reach phase 2, the bumper count goes from 5 to 9 on this floor. But the boss does have 3 layers to it and gets smaller with each layer you destroy. I let the boss hit one of the bumpers, causing it to release a shockwave on the arena and to spawn in gelatins. Because of that, I also saw a battering Lento carrying a Capricchioso on its back, which also started playing with the pinging Marciel just like it does with the 8 balls. Whatever the case, even though it was floor 20, the boss didn't really do anything in this attempt, so I just finished it off earning the 2nd key here. Progression of Big Man's palette is going smoothly. I'm definitely making progress here with these weapons. So this vending machine corner got me main damage close, drone gauge charge, and some extra pearls. Field of Explosions floor for Inksaver sub. So I said to my chat that I chose this floor as a warm-up to see if I can prepare myself to try doing harder difficulty floors later on in this climb and future climbs. The bonus I got was not to use my sub weapon 6 times. But the good news was, I remember this floor. But not in a good way though. The splat zone on this floor is ginormous! And they put 5 balloon fish in the spots of the 5 domino/dice tile where the 5 pips would be located. Yes, those little dots on the domino and dice tiles are called pips. Given how large this area is, it was challenging for the gelatins to take over the zone, but still easy to invade the zone as well given how it takes up almost all the available space on this floor. The balloon fish make it easier for me to take back the zone, so it's pretty balanced in terms of gameplay. Hey, back after first killing me off the first time I went through this. Yeah, that was my first time beating that floor. Mainly because the first time I reached this floor was because it initially arrived for the danger of stronger gelatins in Arpeggio Barrage. Not fun. 10 out of 10 wouldn't recommend. Surrounded, all sides covered floor for drone ink strike. Oh. Surrounded by all sides is right. However, the challenge I was able to bypass with suction bombs with each open side where the portals are. I got through 2 phases with that strategy alone while also using triple ink strike when I got the chance. But upon exiting the zone, I accidentally let the gelatins take the zone away from me for a few, reversing my progress as well. Aside from that attack, it was smooth sailing afterwards. Before we move on to the next floor, I would like to point out, on the off chance that you do get one of these dangers, there's a rare chance that it will appear on a chip you will likely not need, like this sound wave damage, because you're likely not to have a Killer Whale 5.1 or Drone Killer Whale at your disposal. I bring this up because this is a silly circumstance for any chance of getting a danger on one of these floors later on. Anyway, moving on. Projectile Spam Medium Divided Floor for Drone Gauge Charge. This floor should look familiar to many of you. I've heard that some people consider this to be the hardest floor out of all the Spire's floors overall, and I have to chase Alamambos for this floor's objective. Unfortunately, the many gelatins spawning didn't make it easy for me here. At least I know how to handle the gushing Triumphales and use them to my advantage. I spent a while trying to get the remaining 2 Mambos, but in the end of how much my turf was covered, that made it easier for me to catch up to the last Mambo to chase and defeat. Whew. That floor was pretty tough. Ink Drenched Gateway Floor for Drone Ink Strike. Though this is a new floor title, this is also part of the dilemma I brought up earlier with the similar floor layouts having different names. This is the exact floor layout I had with the Order Splatana where I needed to guide the 8 balls to their goals, but I had collected a lot of homing shots chips. This time, however, I just needed to chase more Alamambos instead. I'm actually lucky I got more useful color chips in this climb unlike the previous climb because I thankfully feel more powerful here, and I could recover a lot more turf on this floor. Though in my defense, I have been able to make the Splatana Wiper work in normal turf forms as a turfing weapon even though it really wasn't meant for painting. With enough patience, I managed to group the Mambos together and take them out one by one. We're almost to floor 30 now, just 5 more floors to go. I had to resist the urge to get the Reef Slider here. I really did. Splat Ink recovery and some extra pearls were all I needed here. Intense Homing Swarm Gateway Floor for Mobile Drone Gauge. Yes, once again, we were on this floor layout before. This time we have to escort the turbine. With this whole game mode being a roguelike playstyle, I was demolishing those gelatins this time around while advancing the turbine forward on its path. It did start getting chaotic with how many ink strikes were being sent out from both Jenica and Pearl since I got a few chips that were charging up Pearl's drone abilities and my special meter very fast as I kept moving around. I definitely feel some muscle memory from this floor in particular because of the turbine really. Flying Springing Open Season Divided Floor for ink attack size. So we got this floor layout again from earlier. This time we got another turbine to escort again. The increased attack size from the Slosher was pretty helpful, but I also had to deal with those homing arpeggios still. And there were many of them, and that wasn't even a danger on this floor. Still, I managed to get a step-off song to warn off the gelatins for a bit, but there were still so many of them to deal with. I got lost for a bit wondering where the goal was, but I ended up letting the turbine lead me to the goal either way. The gelatins were getting very close to crowding me at the goal, but I just kept attacking it until I completed the objective. Wouldn't want to be them now, would I? All the way down, then up again floor for disc piece drop. I had to face the danger here because the floor had a color chip that I felt was useful for this climb. Luckily it wasn't that bad. Just ink coating was all the danger was, so I had nothing to worry about. I didn't feel too much in danger with stepping in enemy ink really, because since I've been on this floor before, I knew what to expect from it. A step-off song was enough to buy me some extra time, bringing the turbine back up to the top of the floor where the goal was. The portal at the top opened as I was approaching the goal, but it wasn't much to worry about. On to Smollusk! Back in the control room we go! Smollusk, we're just here to reconfigure a pallet. We're not looking for a fight. Do you even know what those pallets are? They're souls of really strong colors. I went to all the trouble of putting them into the members so they wouldn't mess with my plan. You weren't supposed to get them. It's not fair. You're so annoying. I'm not gonna let you reconfigure nothing. Okay, we're gonna fight now, please. The second restoration, Overlorder. Fun fact, this name is different with every battle after you beat Smollusk. The first time we faced Order, the title was the Magistrate of Order. The second time we faced Smollusk, the title was the One Slight Catch. Upon doing research, this only happens 12 times after you beat Order the first time. This is the second rematch against Smollex though, so we'll bring up the next titles with each time we rematch them. I didn't notice this fact at first until Darkrel brought it up in the chat, so I'm glad you brought that up. In this rematch, I had to take note with the fact that the suction bomb also bounces off of Smollex in its order form, which doesn't make sense given its gelatinous exterior structure here. But I just went about this run how it usually goes, until... Oh, what? No! 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 That's not fair! Stingrays in Phase 2? I'm sorry, I thought that was supposed to only happen in Phase 3! Those Stingrays are always just a pain in this mode. Why don't we have that as a special weapon in this game anymore? We've had them since Splatoon 2, and it was one of the better special weapons with more control over the weapon than Killer Whale 5.1, which is what we ended up with in this game. Thank Marina that Smollex gets disabled with a step-off song, buying me some extra time to attack the portals. Well, it makes sense for Dark to recommend swim speed up to me. About here was where I first noticed one of the portals was getting damaged while the stem was in my ink. Damn, Jenica's probably going to become a marathon runner slash swimmer at this rate, with how many times she's circled around Smollesk. I had to make her do this a few times before successfully destroying all the portals in Phase 3. But at least all that swimming and running eventually paid off. That rematch was pretty easy with the Slosher, and all the color chips I got in this climb. Right on! Now we can reconfigure this palette too. I lost again! Cheaters acts no fair! I'm starting to sound like Houseboy now. Maybe think about giving up? No way! I'm going to make a world of order where everyone can be happy. Smollesk. More like Ballisk. That's the Order Slosher done! I'm pretty surprised how much easier that route was compared to the Order Splatana. Having to finish that first try, it felt nice to get 214 pearls as a reward from this climb. From those keys we've collected, we've unlocked another page of Marina's dev diary, Merch's palette giving us the Order Blaster, and 40 extra pearls. With a third of the lockers unlocked, we're only about a fourth of the way done with this DLC mode. 3 volumes done, 9 more to go. Next time on Jenica Spires against Order, we'll be tackling the Order Shot route and climbing the Spire once again. See you guys then. Ping-ponging double hill floor for poison. Oh my god! The second restoration, Overlorder.